I don't know if we have it recorded. I remember like Zoro, Z, and Merlin. We were talking about like some things how manga felt different from anime. We were using Gintama as the example where comedy just works better in animated form because not just because of the music and the voices, but I think even sound effects play like a big part when it comes to comedy. Obviously, there is no sound. You imagine the sounds in your head. You imagine the mood in your head. And speaking of that, I'll start a conversation off with the recent Gintama arc because it just feels so different reading Gintama than it is watching it. Personally, even in this arc, Gintoki, Kagura, and Shippachi, they're not really the main characters in this whole arc, so they haven't said anything or been that involved. It's more the Shinsengumi arc more than anything. I don't know, something about reading Gintama just doesn't feel as exciting as it did with the anime form. This is like a very serious arc too, so I'm thinking like I don't feel completely invested. So I don't know if you guys kind of felt the same way too.
When I read manga or when I watch anime, the type of time I try to invest in it, I can only have 24 hours in a day, and I use that for other things. And the amount of time I really want to spend focusing on one thing is very short when I read a chapter, especially if it comes out like one week. Bleach, another was that going on, and there's so much happened with Yuhabak being the Soul King, and that's still not even at its climax yet. And I was excited at first, but now it's like it just kind of takes away from me focusing on the story a little bit, and mainly I think that with pacing and the ability to do things at the right time in a series, authors shouldn't think that they should cram a lot of things inside of one arc, or they should try to do everything like at the ending, to try to. Even I felt that in the end of Naruto, Masashi Kishimoto felt like to cram a lot of things in there plot wise in order to make it like the climax. But sometimes you got to let these things play out for themselves, and you got to let the aftermath of those actions, or even plan beforehand. I don't want to say the big three, but like Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece, they've all had their periods of stretching out too much, probably based on popularity, and probably based on, I don't know, fan backlash or something like that. I just feel like shorter, much more concise plot lines that don't seem contrived is the better way to go. Uh, do you guys have any example of that, like shorter series that didn't overstay its welcome? I could think Yu Hakusho, but oh god,
Oh yeah, but even Hakusho was kind of like slacking in its ending too, though.
in its ending, but it didn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
Think about something that has a proper pacing and things that started at the right time and ended at the right
All
time.
right. I'm trying to think
Um,
of something really
yeah.
short. Both anime and manga. Well, no, I'm just gonna go with Ashita no Joe really because the way it ends and the way it starts, like all the way through, it just well, I don't know. It's a proper example because it's a sports manga, even though it's like a really good sports series.
I mean, any series could count. Like, I mean, I understand what you mean. Like a sports manga,
Yeah,
it
because
may have a
it's not the
different.
traditional like battle manga with the with all these arcs and all that. Like,
But even like a slice of life or something like that could go on for longer than
true.
anticipated.
Well, I guess I'll just keep going with Joe because the way the Joe manga is, it has like very just proper pacing. It's one of those few series that if you read the manga for it, if you didn't have like a title chapter page, you wouldn't tell where the chapter ended. It just flows neatly into the next chapter with no breaks or whatsoever. And I think another good example for this would be the Devilman manga. It's 5 volumes.
Just five
Yeah, it's
volumes?
only 5 volumes. Yeah,
Wow.
and it's I think 30 chapters or less. But that's one example of a series that didn't go too far because it could have easily been about a story about just Devilman fighting demons repeatedly over and over again because that's what the beginning of Volume 2 was all about. It was just fighting.
Mhm.
And then it wasn't until like the middle of the story where plot kicks in and then tragedy, then apocalyptic Armageddon shit starts kicking into the story. I mean, it could have easily fall onto that trope of fighting the next demon after demon. Like, oh, you defeated this demon henchman, now you have to fight the big badder demon, and then you gotta defeat the even other demonic demon. And there's
I
another
feel you.
one.
I feel you.
Like it's like never ending cycle. Devilman is one story that it took the moral over its content. Like it really wanted to express the theme of anti-war and the what's the word for it? The vices of humankind. Yeah,
Okay,
so that's
okay.
one example where it's very short and concise. I think Parasite is another one that could fall into that category because when I was reading and watching the series, I was kind of worried that it could turn into like a like a very legit battle series. Because when we saw like Shinichi's like transformation, we could have easily had like other people merge with parasites. It could have been like a battle with another parasite organization with another one. And different evolutions of the parasite. It could have turned into that, but instead it became the whole peace message and the coexistence theme. No, actually, I got one. I got one example, but it's one series that should have stopped, but it hasn't. It's a series called Guyver, the Bio Boosted Armor, that's been going on since like the mid '80s, and honestly, it should have
Hmm.
finished long time ago, but it hasn't. It's still ongoing today, but here's the thing: like it barely even has 200 chapters, and I'm kind of wondering how do you have 200 chapters in a span of like 20 years? You should have more than
Sorry.
and because with Guyver, I'm thinking because he added an extra villainous threat that should not have existed. Like there was no point introducing any more characters because essentially the main characters were fighting this organization called Kronos, and basically more than half of their enemies were already wiped out. There was like only a handful left to defeat. Then out of nowhere, some more alien invaders show up and they're saying, "Oh, now you gotta fight the creators." I'm thinking like, come on, man, you get the series running for more than 20 years. You should have stopped already. Your designs are cool, your art style is amazing, your science fiction is very intriguing, but no, man, you gotta stop. Lunar, I think it's your turn to share something because we all,
My
yeah,
turn.
yeah, like,
Well, I was gonna talk
Yeah.
about Bleach, but like,
Already. Yeah.
oh yeah, you already saw it. And
My
honestly,
bad.
out of like all the shonen that I've read, like Bleach's pacing has always been like the problem that I've always had. Like
Mhm.
some chapters the pacing would be good, but other chapters the pacing would be like it would feel like so slow that barely anything happens, and that the chapters would be just a quick read. Like for example, when the
Yep.
Shinigami finally arrived at the Soul King's palace to see like the new what was it, the War Welt. Instead of like going right away, they just observe the castle, and you just have like Shinsui and not Ukitake, sorry, Urahara, sorry, Urahara, just talking about the castle, and you're just like wondering when are they gonna go, what is going to happen, but it was just really slow, and that was like what's really irritating about Bleach is that the pacing, how sometimes it can be like very slow, and especially when we're at like the final arc of the series, right?
those final arcs
And
in
so,
general are kind of like always kind of controversial when it comes to shonen for some reason.
Well, maybe
yeah,
I guess they're trying to raise the stakes and trying to extend it because it's the last time. They're trying to build up. Maybe they're trying to build up to fans' expectations or whatever, whatever. But it's like pacing has to still be a factor when it comes into that. You can't think this has to go on forever because it's the last time. Like especially
yeah,
the fourth grade. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, but we know that it's going to end soon, and honestly, we just want to get straight to the point.
Right.
That is the problem right now, and not only just straight to the point, but also to learn more about the anime because we still don't know a lot about the new and final main antagonist Yobak. I mean, we're finally getting a flashback, but it's a flashback based on the friendship between two of the Stern Reachers.
Right.
And Yobak is connected, so we're probably going to get the closest thing we're going to have to Yobak's backstory if we're ever going to get that.
I mean, well, those are like plot points and like story flaws that come you know after the fact of timing and pacing inside of anime and manga, and the struggle with that is usually those get explained when the timing and pacing is not up to fan par. I think I
Hmm.
say because they spend so much time worrying about other superficial things that when by the time they get back to the questions we want answered, you, we kind of feel tired and it kind of feels stalled and dragged on. Like for example, like answers on like why Itachi, joined the Akatsuki and like his motivations and like his past and stuff like that happened in the Great Ninja War. It just kind of felt like it felt too long to build up to, and just things like that. And I feel like with stretching series out and pacing and whatnot, these artists, or or mangaka, they just need to have a system where, they can sift through what people want to focus on, what they want to have in their story, and what also is good, for a narrative. They're not even just a battle manga in general, but any narrative. Like, let's say Hajime no Ippo, that's been going on for a very long time. Uh,
It's over a
Case
thousand
closed. That's
chapters
been going on
now.
for a long, long time. If they're just trying to have like a chapter by chapter story where it's not really that serious, or I would understand that. If it isn't Shinchan going on for a long time.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, I mean, but that's neither here nor there. Like, that's just like a comedic series. Like, things like that you can have with going on forever. But if you have like an ongoing plot line in the story, I feel like that's the thing we need to address.
I got another example that's kind of like that, but I think fans are torn between this is the series Detective Conan because there
Oh,
is a
Oh
yeah.
plot,
yeah.
there is a fucking plot, but most of it's kind of weird because I see in a lot of Conan, and at one point like a few years back I actually caught up to everything, and then I haven't gone back to it since then. And but basically the series starts out with a plot that you need to find out who the Black Organization is or what are they doing. Because all we know that supposedly they had some idea of bringing back the dead or having eternal youth. Supposedly that's what their whole organization is about, but I don't know for sure because it's been that long. But also is that as the series kept going, more and more characters got introduced. They're likable, and that's a good thing. However, what started off as a mystery drama became a romance. Because almost
Oh.
Hmm.
almost every character is hooked up with somebody. And but the thing is, to keep the audience like interested or keeping back wanting more, is that the romance isn't exactly how can I put this? They haven't tied the knot with a bunch of characters. They're always kind of like, oh, will they do this, or will he finally confess, or will they finally just,
Wait,
just
so
fuck already?
they would pair the characters, but they wouldn't. They aren't really together.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's always like moments interrupting or shit that just kind of trolls you. It teases you so much. But and not just with the romance, but even
Goddamn.
with plot related events, because the Black Organization members would come and go. Like sometimes you will spot them, then oh we found news of the Black Organization. It turns out it was a fake lead. Let's say like we only got introduced to like three or four members like a long time ago. But then out of nowhere, this one arc which was really good introduced like four new members of the group like immediately, and it was like such a good arc too because it even brought in the FBI. I mean, not the FBI, the CIA involved with the series, and it kind of like opened new horizons. But even then, it just kind of like went back to the yeah, let's do the occasional mysteries. We do with some of the romance, and then we'll deal with the whole secret identity thing of Shinichi, and then finally the Black Organization stuff. And it just keeps going and going and going, and you're kind of wondering, the show's good, especially for like an episodic, like for TV drama and stuff, but we do have a plot, we just when are we gonna get there? Just it's been like 800 plus episodes. Like I don't know how many chapters either. So yeah, like Detective Conan's like a major tease.
I was muted. My bad. I was talking. I'm sorry to hear that. Actually, yeah, I feel what you mean. I feel like that I feel like a show sometimes has to pay me off based on how much time I wanted to
That
invest
you
in it.
invested like reading the chapters
Yeah,
or
Well, the
right.
only consolation there really is are the movies because they kind of like raise the stakes a bit. But at the same time, nothing like plot related will really happen, like such as a character death or a like a big romantic encounter or something like that. Okay, yeah, there's
Yeah,
774 episodes as of right now, so
yeah.
I'm just think 86 volumes too. Like, goddamn.
Something that's being followed. I think these series feel like they can do that because they have so much fan support, but
Hmm.
like especially with extended series like we've just talked about, like when is enough, and I guess people will tell them when enough is enough because I really think that timing is a very good aspect to have in your series, and it can make or break how good your series actually is, especially when it comes to like one aspect like an arc, like I just said in One Piece. Like it just killed it for me. I don't want the story to become a one direction where it's like build up a lot of potential, and then it doesn't live up to that potential because uh, the story went too long, and I just don't feel like doing it anymore, or I don't see the point of the story because it's gone on for so long. Like there's a story, and the story's not addressing it, or it's taking too long to get to that point. Like you can't keep the audience's attention forever to really think about, especially when you put in the time to watch these shows, and sometimes I wonder, do these guys really care, whether we enjoy the series or not, or if it's about money or
Or
whatever.
maybe it's one of those things where the author is enjoying what he's doing, but now everyone else is like,
Yeah, not us.
Not
He's
us.
so consumed in the story that he may be his biggest fan, and he may have much more leeway to do it.
mm. I
Perhaps.
think that's kind of the problem I have with Kubo, because I think his greatest passion is actually character designs more than anything, rather than like actually writing the story and or making the fight scenes, because his creativity with visual imagery is like really good, because there's always like
Yeah.
he always
As long as the backgrounds aren't completely white.
oh we but the white background is like a bleach staple.
Come on now, it accentuates the characters, the
It made
character
the character
development.
step out more from the background. I mean, you can't actually. It's kind of hilarious if you type in like Bleach manga like on Google. You will see so much white backgrounds on characters.
Yeah.
But well,
Is
Yeah.
that
yeah,
white?
yeah, the white background of nothingness. Like, but no, but seriously, because he always introduces like so many characters, and I'm thinking, I don't think you need this many characters because you're not gonna be able to develop them all. That's kind of how I feel with One Piece with the supernovas. I don't think we really need that many, also, because obviously we're not gonna give our full attention to each one, and if they do, it'll only be like for a little bit, like in an arc or something. But I mean, the most screen time they had was in the Sabo the Archipelago, and then compared to anything else, they're not really relevant, and that's kind of my problem with them. But any final
All
words on
right.
this?
Uh, yeah, definitely. Uh, Mangaka, anime, manga in general. Just try not to extend something farther than it needs to be. It's always good to have build up and make people anticipate any part of your story, but it's also another thing to make them build so much that they're disinterested. So cut down on it. One Piece, I'm looking at you. Uh, yeah, we'll see what we have in the future. Hopefully they can do that.
All right, Lunar, what about you?
Great. I guess my advice is for the manga, cause just when it goes to pacing, it very well. Don't like drag things out unless it's like absolutely necessary. Don't make it too fast. Don't make it too slow. Make it worth the time that the readers are investing on reading your series. And as for like anime, don't make it like 10 to 30 seconds of like shots of staring at other people's faces or stuff like that. Don't do that, because that's really annoying.
It's dramatic.
Hate it. Even if it is dramatic, like, don't make it like way too long, because that's still annoying. Come on.
Yeah, I guess the last thing I can say is just that if you're writing a story, like I would say, like try to make it fast as possible, not too not too fast, not too slow either. Just to find your right pacing for it. In terms of anime, well, they always extend scenes, like fight scenes, sometimes dialogue, or they insert some flashbacks. 'Cause usually, what I see, whenever a flashback is mentioned in manga form, they get like a lot of more visual imagery in the anime. So, um, writing a series is hard because like, I myself I'm actually writing stuff down like in a little novel kind of thing. And one of the things I always hate making is exposition or descriptions of objects or people. But it's not easy, but you should be able to figure out your own balance at some point. So yeah, basically just figure out what works for you.
Good job, hero. Good job.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing. Don't be like Naruto and Shippuden and add like freaking filler flashbacks.
Flashback within a flashback.
Oh my god.
I hate
Actually,
that.
that's true because filler.
Or filler arc that has flashbacks of the canon, or filler flashbacks. I mean, seriously, like we had like a Chunin Zen's filler arc and then like 2 episodes of canon material afterwards. We get flashback fillers. I mean, like, come on, quit it.
Well, filler can be ridiculous, but that's like a conversation for another day. When is filler too much?
Yeah.